boa tarde. A gente vai fazer em inglês. But I think that Panda Boi and Bob already set the stage for a conversation about the, Generation Z and how social media content is made. So part is real, part is fake. But I would like to know from you, Panda Boi, or Federico, if you prefer, what part is real and what part is fake in your content, if you can explain.
I think when we make content, so we don't really show the real life. We try to make the perfect version of our life. It's like almost like Instagram stories, right? We don't really show when we have a bad day or when things go wrong. We always show the best part of our life. So when we do content, it's almost like making a movie. We want to make every single shot the best possible. That's why it's not about making a fake content. It's about crafting the best content for the viewers.
On the other hand, Bob, you are in the extreme opposite of this context, because when you are skating or competing, as in you did, you are open to errors, and it's unavoidable sometimes. But how can you use that to leverage your connection with your audience?
Well, skateboarding is very real, and when we post, I tend to post skateboarding tricks, right? And like Panda Boi mentioned, we tend to post what we make. I think that some of the raw content I've learned that it connects better with my audience. So I've tried to edit in some of my failures as well, like putting in falls or slams. But it really depends, and like I'm here, I'll create a content when I, go back because, my sponsor's here, so I try to do the collabs, trying to do all that, because that's part of my contracts now, where before, it was sticker on the helmet, how many minutes on, on TV, and that's how you calculated the contract. Now you have to add in maybe coming up with some content aside from the actual skateboarding, So it's just got to be creative in adapting.
But don't you feel like sometimes a burnout, creating content all the time, or trying to catch the trend, or what is going well in your social media? I would like to know from both, how do you deal with burnout, creating content all the time, and exceeding expectations in some level?
Well, in my case, I haven't posted in a few days, and it's just like I see the collabs and I go, okay, collab, or someone posted something and then I just repost. I'm kind of like some of the lazy social media, because I don't always grab the phone and, and talk, but like, it's just, during a lot of my contracts, then I have to post, right? But if I were to just, if I didn't have to, I just don't. I just don't work it. I guess my business, I have to do it more, right? But it's not something that, I tend to think of all the time, which I should, but I don't think of it as much.
How about you, Federico?
I think burnout is real. I think every creator faces it at least once, even if not even more times. I am in this period of my career where I'm trying to transition from kids content to more business, finance-oriented. That's why I made this new format called the Royal Chair. So the burnout is real, and I think we don't have to focus it too much. We just have to move on and try to renew ourselves. To create something new.
But you you have 62 million followers. I think this puts a lot of pressure on you. Or don't you think about 62 million people watching just in YouTube? You have 12 million in TikTok. It's a lot of pressure, no?
I try to not think about it. I know it's hard, but at the end of the day, you see all these celebrities, we put them on this hub above us, on these platforms. At the end of the day, they are human beings. They go to sleep, wake up, eat, and it's us that put ourselves up or down, So if you can deal with your own ego and be happy with what you have, which is the most difficult part, by the way, then you can be happy. And I say it as if it's really simple. It is probably the hardest thing to do because we all humans, we all have this ego that we want to be better than anyone else, be richer than anybody else. So to put your ego on the side, if you can achieve that, then you can be the most free, most happy.
But about your ego, you heard a lot of no's when you were starting your career. You tried to be an actor, and you said about your being Chinese, or your profile wasn't ideal for Hollywood or for movies, and then you moved to social media in some sense. How much this affected the work you're producing nowadays?
I think the world, as we know, is moving super fast. Like AI, as we know, is taking over, and I feel Hollywood is in big, big trouble because in the other side of the world, there might be a 12-year-old from the laptop making a Hollywood, like $1 million production with just $40. So it's a very fast-pacing world we are living right now. So everything is changing. Everything is changing every single day. How we communicate, for example, how social media works. So to catch the trend now is more difficult than ever. It's like every few hours it changes almost. Before, if you can catch the wave, if you had a trend, it may last for 3 or 4 months. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. It just changes,
And Bob, a lot of changes for you too. I mean, everybody knows you as a skater in a lot of places, but you also have like a platform for health, and also you're working with Web 3.0. Why this sort of change in your career and what you're doing right now? Because it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say I'm in risk management, so all my life I've been managing risk. I have almost 800 skydives, about 800 hours of flying, helicopter and airplane. Just really curious. I love art, love doing graffiti art, just that creative aspect, trying to do something. And then aside from the physical, just learning. And that's what made me go out and get my pilot's license and do things like that. The Web3 side is like back in 2017, I got introduced to Bitcoin and, went through the rabbit hole of the whole blockchain technology, and I just really understood that there was something here. And with my institute, which is Instituto Skate Cuida, Skateboarding Cares in Portuguese, we've done programs where we're, teaching the kids, this is before AI, obviously, teaching the kids how to code and directing them to what's happening out there. We're in a creator economy. We're in this time of like empowering, with AI tools, so it's just like directing and mentoring people, not just kids, but the instructors that are with us, and on all of these tools that they can use. And then through that work, Bank of Brazil, which is one of the main sponsors here, they're one of my main sponsors. They support Instituto Skate Cuida. I know President Tarciana is somewhere around here. I want to say hi and thank them for the support. But it's really just, trying to stay active, outside of skateboarding. It's happening. And from all the injuries I've had, I'm 49 years old, but I have 48 fractures. So I broke parity last year. I was 48. Now, maybe the 49 fractures coming. But I am also launching a health platform called PharmaLeaf. And it's basically to defragmentize your health, kind of create a longitudinal memory, so you can submit all of your x-rays and blood exams and all the things that are medical records, and then keep everything in one spot. You can record your consults, and then you can have a conversation with a natural medicine AI to give you insights on your health. So I'm obviously building it for me, and I know that everyone is going to benefit from it.
But you also find time to work with X Games.
Yes. X Games League. X Games became a league. People have known X Games for a long time, but this year they have become a league. And in a league, there are 4 teams that they've created, which is X Games Club Tokyo, LA, New York, and Sao Paulo. So a Brazilian team in the International League, obviously is from a lot of the the success of the Brazilian skateboarders, my own, and a lot of others, that they chose to have a club São Paulo. So they brought me in as a general manager for that club, and already drafted a team. There's 10 riders in it, and we're going to have our first event in Sacramento at the end of the month, and we're going to go on to Shiba in Japan, and then finals in New Orleans. So it's the first time 3 events, 1 season, and there'll be a first champion. So we're out there kind of teaching people about X Games and what's going on.
Federico, you said that you just arrived like 12 hours ago from Alaska, and then you will travel around South America. And I asked you, where do you live? And you said, in Italy, but everywhere. What do you mean by living everywhere, and why do you live everywhere in some sense?
So I have a very weird philosophy of life, because I feel like most people, the average life is buy a house, have a dog, get married, and then be sad for the rest of your life. So because of that, I want to be as free as possible. So I don't want to have a base. I tried many times to have a base to set, to just set my base, but it never worked out. So that's why I feel like, for me, traveling is my passion. I feel alive, so I just travel, and wherever I end up, that's my base. So that's my philosophy of life. And I know many people will not agree with my lifestyle, but it is what it is. That's my life. All my life, because I have Asian parents, so they're like, oh, if you not become billionaire by 3 years old, you're a failure, So I am the worst Asian kid, if we can call so. But all my life I've been told what to do, being like put rules and all this stuff. And I guess I'm just a rebel.
So in some level, what you're saying that there are not just one path, we have different paths. But what advice would you give to entrepreneurs, people that's trying to start a company, or even being a social media creator? What would be your advice?
If it was 5 years ago, and you asked me the same question, I would say, don't worry, you still got time, just post that video. Now, in 2026, my advice is, if you don't post it right now, it might be too late in 2 months. So hurry up and post that video.
How about you, Bob? Your talent's unbelievable, but also you managed to keep a fruitful career after, you still compete in some level, but you are an entrepreneur in many ways. What do you learn, and what do you like to share with people about your experience learning to be an entrepreneur?
I agree with your life. I think it's a great lifestyle. I've learned that we're endlessly creative. It's just whatever you really want to do and you set out to do. I really like what Panda Boi said. If you have a dream and you feel it's there, we can achieve it. And that's proven to me over and over again. When I learn a new trick, sometimes it takes me hours, sometimes months, and sometimes broken bones. But it's just like, I know that at the end of that, I will make it happen, because I've learned that from myself in skateboarding. So I carry that on to business, things in life, So if I could advise, it's just like, go out there and live. Follow your heart, really, because that's what's going to keep you happy. Obviously, I got to paraphrase a good friend of mine, late, from Charlie Brown, the band, Chorão. Sometimes I do what I have to, and sometimes I do what I want to, right? So I just make sure I do the things I need to do so I can go out there and have a good time and progress and learn, Be a white belt in things. It's okay. A lot of times we're comfortable only in things we're good at, and that's good. Focus on your strengths, but your weaknesses will get you more well-rounded, So I think just learn something new.
I totally agree with you, Bob. And how about you, Federico? Have you learned something new recently?
Every day. Every day I learn something new. I meet new people. I
How
go
about
to new
today?
places. Today, how to say bon tarde? That's muy obrigado. So I learned a few words of Portuguese.
So maybe the lesson here is like keep learning all the time, we know, but how to keep learning nowadays as we have this attention. It's hard to pay attention. How do you do that? Do you still pay attention, like watch a movie 2 hours, Bob, with social media?
You know, I think the key with everything is balance. I'm incredibly busy, and I have several responsibilities throughout the day. You know, obviously AI has given me the tools to get the things I need to do done. But I also stop in between, and I'll go out and do some art, or I'll draw for a second, or I'll just walk out of the office for a little bit and then come back. Because especially we have this incredible tool that's AI that's given us all this speed, and if we don't stop and celebrate and give it a second, I mean, you just won a week in like 10 minutes. Stop for a second, We tend to go on to the next and on to the next and don't celebrate. So I guess that's another piece of advice.
Thank you, Federico. Thank you, Bob. We're out of time. I would enjoy spending more time here. Thank you, and thank you all. Obrigado a todos.
Obrigado.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Valeu.